Hello everybody, welcome back to your weekly energy update for energetically sensitives, empaths, and highly sensitive people. My name is Jona Bryndis and I'm a trained energy worker and energy coach here at transCODES, airing live from Colorado, USA. And as always, take this opportunity to ask live questions or to comment. I was just asked a question here a few minutes ago, how I actually come up with this data. And I want to take a moment here to explain this to you. The forecasts or the energy tips that I come up with are not based on any kind of predictive system or structure. They're actually based on collective or collected data through 150 energetically sensitives, empaths, and trained energy workers from all over the world every week. So what you are hearing here is more or less a report of something that we have already picked up on. And in other words, this means that this is an empirical precognition, not so much something that is a prediction, but more so a forecast or weather forecast, as I've called it in the past, based on what people who are trained in this, who are trained in picking up on collective energies, what they perceive in these training sessions, these energy training sessions that we have going on here at transCODES every week. These sessions are public, and I want to point this out here, especially for those of you who are interested in the larger picture of things. They're all open source. We report and reflect about these energies directly, always give feedback, and we have a forum, an energy forum, where we discuss this with participants or people from the outside. So open source is one of the big prime directives here for me as the founder of transCODES. There is no secret and there is no special ability that I have. It is something that I train other people in, and everybody can learn this. All right. The protocols that we use have to do with people being able to tap into their innate precognition and using not so much any of the mystical aspects that can come in when you access that part of you, but mostly understanding that it is the heart navigator, the heart mind that perceives holographic information in a bigger, greater bandwidth than the actual mind and our five senses. And so it's actually a lot less woo-woo than people think it is. My affinity to collect data and to protocol everything has led to these energy forecasts. And so what you're hearing here is really something that has already happened, okay? That it has just not manifested for, like, say, mainstream or for the majority of people who may not have that level of sensitivity. And if you look at the energy barometer here that I create just for simplicity reasons and for you guys to get a quick overview over next week's energies, then you will notice something unusual. Maybe those of you who've been following me for a while have seen this before. There is a bifurcated, a split arrow. Okay, and the barometer indicates the intensity level of energies. And so you can probably interpolate here that there may be a different perception on the way, a different way of perceiving things for some people than for others. And I want to talk about this to you today. But before we get started, thank you once more for coming. Let me know what country you are watching or listening from live right now. And if you are watching the edited version of this video here on YouTube, then please know that you can still comment and ask questions anytime. All right, so it's wonderful to be here with you. The energies of the past couple of weeks, we always start with a review, were it's hard to say for me. I don't want to sound judgmental, but they were challenging. Even though the barometer showed, actually the opportunity for a lot of healing, and yes. I predicted last week that you're going to have to deal with some deeper patterns, with some deeper things that have been sitting in your, outer aspects of your energy body, meaning that they're not accessible with your mind. And this is really what has made this last week a bit challenging for people. Not so much the actual drama, but the reminder of some of these deeper inner processes and the constant ups and downs. So while many of us are still dealing with those respiratory issues, eyes, nose, sinuses, throat, and lungs, which I've already reported about, they have to do with our self-expression and our ability to connect with other people, but also with collective energies. And so this week, actually, the aspect of connecting with collective energies comes in really strongly. And so we will find these people who will have that ability to tune in to seeing the larger picture and getting a good feeling for what is theirs and what isn't. And they will actually experience a beautiful time, a time for healing, a time for recuperation, a time for new beginnings, and starting to feel strengthened through these transformational processes that are going on. For the majority of people who do not tune into their sensitivity, not because they don't have it, but because they're not trained in tuning into this or connect with this may feel like a pretty challenging week. And when I talk about the collective, of course, I talk about the majority of people. I also talk about our society, our sort of geopolitical climate. And so while this is actually a really, really cool time for us, if we allow this connection, if we allow the remembrance of who we truly are, that leads us to our divine nature, that leads us to our true needs, to the things that we discover that can hold us back, that can block us, that can, prevent us from fully coming out of the woodwork, if you will, or fully committing to a relationship or to our purpose and how we want to express this in the world. These things, if we cannot connect with them, then they kind of haunt us, all right? And it will trigger the deepest and core coping patterns that we have, including addiction, including fantasizing, but also fanatism and violence and irritability. And so collectively and geopolitically, I see actually quite a bit of unrest here in our societies for the next week. There is a lot of stuff cooking, okay? And when a person has not learned how to resolve and how to heal these deeper aspects, especially when the intensity levels go a little up, it can lead to erratic behavior, to the outbreak of violence. And in this week, actually the whole entire month of March, always with the connotation of fanatism, of going way over the top. So one of my basic energy tips for the next weeks is to avoid polarities, to avoid opinionated and especially open declarations of that. I hate to say it, but I don't feel like that public demonstrations, at least not here in the United States, but also in Europe, are very safe right now. Okay, so maybe if you want to stand up and commit to yourself to a cause, keep it in a way that you can support the movement, but without going or being pulled into this extremism of it. We'll have enough of that, and unfortunately, this may lead to 2 major incidences this week. However, the resolution, or well, let me take that word back. The navigation through those intense times, whether or not we're able to see the larger picture or not, is in recognizing that things need to be healed. All right, this is like a form of acceptance, and on a deeper level, also acknowledging that some things cannot be resolved. And many of you have had this sort of karmic stuff coming up. I think I mentioned this last week in regards to family stuff, in regards to family values, in regards to what am I even standing for here, and with the needed boundary work, of course, but it's not that far yet. It is more in the deeper sense of like, is this even acceptable for me? And many of the energy coaching sessions this week were about finding out what our no-goes are, like really exploring the things that we truly need, and what happens to us if we cannot really get them. And here is sort of the March take on that, and that is to really tune into self-love and self-nurturing, but with a slight hint of say strict love. So I call this strict love. This is, no matter how much I love you, if there are basic boundaries of mine violated, or if there are basic needs that I cannot express in this relationship, then whatever I decide to do is not against you. Just because it is for me doesn't mean it is against you. And to find that consensus here. So the no-go list that I mentioned is something that many of us, especially empaths, have to work on more often and repetitively than, like, say, people who are not usually that affected by other people's energies, because we often forget these boundaries, and we often forget what is healthy for us and what isn't. So we have to make this a conscious step and really feel out, okay, where is my outer limit here of what is good for me? And everything that is sort of in that space that is negotiable, that is acceptable, this will be the energy that you will be working with here this next week, namely finding out how you can express that in mutual respect, maybe even in a softer, friendlier way as compared to how you have done this in the past. See, the thing is that when we are not really good at expressing our needs or our boundaries, we often suck it up, and then we explode. And so the only times where we actually speak truth is when we're in a state of anger, or when we cannot take it anymore. And that creates sort of a shutdown and a defensive position in the other. And so really, even though we are expressing our deepest truth, we cannot really be heard. And there's a lot of frustration possible in that area, because over time it makes us feel we are disrespected. It makes us feel like the other people, either family or partner or children, they don't care about us, they don't care about our needs. And it's almost like, easy for me to predict this. When empaths get sick, everything starts falling apart, because for the longest time they have been sort of externalizing their needs, and also try to serve others, who externalize their needs. And what happens when we get sick, we simply cannot take it anymore. We're simply not able to push all that energy into projecting like that we are, the best mom in the world or the best provider in the world. And a lot of old stuff comes forward when we actually get sick. And here is exactly the schism that you can see in the barometer that is coming forward here in this next week. You're going to have to learn how to balance that. It's not the other people's fault. And quite frankly, in my experience, this is very often one of those invisible misunderstandings in our relationships. It's as long as we kind of pretend, that it's okay, the other people around us, even our children, they take this for granted. And it's not because they don't care. It's because they actually believe it's okay for us. But it isn't. And your job is to not wait until you can't take it anymore, until you run out of energy. Your job is to step up self-responsibly, be accountable for your energy, express it what you can and can't do, what you will and what you won't do, and work on how to communicate this in a way that the others can actually hear you. Mutual respect, mutual reception. It's not enough to just vent something out. You have to make sure that you're being heard. And one subject that has struck me here this week working with these energies is that many of us have an issue with differentiating between being kind, being nice, and being polite. And maybe as a homework, for this week, you can contemplate about this a little bit. There's a huge difference energetically between being nice and being kind. When you're nice, you're projecting something out. You want the other person to see you in a certain way. And there's actually tremendous amount of your energy flowing into projecting that. It's kind of like a waste of energy, which is why when you feel sick or when your energies run down, why you can't keep that up anymore. All right. And that's the difference here between trying to be nice and trying to be kind. Because when you're kind, see, you can be stern and you can be direct and you can speak your truth and still be kind. And if you don't really have a relationship with the person that you're talking to, or if it's just really sort of a superficial kind of interaction, and then you can even reduce it to just being polite, staying polite. Those are things as energetically sensitives, how exhausting that can be to deal with people who are very rude and who vent their energies and who project their energies 24/7. You know what this feels like. So try to work with this a little bit, because it will show you some of the deeper karmic and also unresolved inner child stuff that you have, why you are trying to be nice, why you are trying to keep up that sort of fake front that allows you or that doesn't allow you really to connect with your true needs. This is also where many of you lose their purpose in life, because or never really are able to connect with the deeper purpose in life, because too much of your energy is centered here around your third chakra, around your solar plexus, and pushes too much into how you are being seen through the eyes of others. And this whole transformation process here, this whole embodiment process into our higher vibratory spiritual being has a lot to do with solving this, with walking the talk, guys. All this spiritual talk is super, super practical. And if you are not able to translate that into the practical, it's all just hot air and brain farts and opinions. And that's how you get into fights and these opinionated wars of beliefs. okay? Because you're not really walking the talk. If you walk the talk, you understand that, that there's a huge difference between being kind and being nice, between being honest and being truthful and fully accepting, between seeing things the way they are or judging and criticizing self or others. So this is the distinction that we do here on the energy work level, because the expression of these different ways of approaching things, ways to communicate, and ways to present ourselves have different energetic levels. They have different energetic powers. And so when you're just trying to be nice, your power is very weak. Your energetic power is very weak, and the radius and the radiance of what it is that you want to express is not very strong. Many people then resort into, becoming louder, becoming more controlling and overpowering, which is a whole other level of relationship and communication issues. But all that comes from your third chakra, and this will be triggered here this week. So you got to be careful, okay? Because where you really want to be in order to transcend and to heal these parts is in your heart. You want to learn how to be fully present in your heart, and this includes the physical. This week actually you will find a lot of resolutions, and in this case, I mean resolutions in the physical, through activities, through action, through finding new ways of actually expressing yourself. And that includes your body, of course. So on a physical level, the energy tips for this week can be things where you actually have taken honest inventory about some of your habits, some of the coping mechanisms that you've developed over the years or decades, and not just trying to resolve this with your head. Yes, I have to go and exercise more, or I have to change my diet. No, to actually go directly in and pick up a new habit this week, a new physical habit, like a new kind of activity, exercise routine maybe, or a new way of eating, maybe cutting out certain things that you already know are not good for you. Many of you have dairy oversensitivities, wheat or gluten sensitivities. You may not have a full-blown allergy, but you have constant issues with your gut, you constantly have issues with digestion. Then experiment, give yourself that space to heal, because in this week you will find a lot of these new pathways in the action in the physical part. Emotionally, many of us still have to kind of lick our wounds a bit and heal from some of the flu and the respiratory stuff that we have. And I want to address something that I find very often in these spiritual circles, and that is that we think, it's not just emotional, but it has an emotional effect on us, that because we're energy workers, because we are healers, or because we're trained in energy work, or because we can see these things, they don't affect us anymore. And then we feel like a loser when we get sick. Guys, this judgment, okay? This is like your third chakra again. This is your fifth, your knotted up fifth chakra, telling you that, it's bad to get sick. No. This transformation process that we all going through here, at least for another 20 years, is extremely challenging for our body. And there's a lot of different layers of transformation that have to happen on a neurotransmitter level, on a cellular level, and on a DNA level, okay? And we all go through these phases. When you get sick, it's not necessarily a sign that you weren't good enough, that you weren't strong enough, that you didn't, consolidate yourself enough, or that you didn't eat the right foods. No, sometimes you just have to get sick because this is important for your energy to basically make a quantum leap. very often, and those of you who are kids know this, kids get sick before they grow. And the same happens to our energy body. So don't beat yourself up over that, because that then is what brings in the darker, the lower energies. Okay, and on a mental level, obviously that has to do with these beliefs, and with thinking you got it all figured out. That's the pitfall here. And this week, we've been dealing already. We've already been dealing with this for like 3 weeks now. With this increased 6th and 7th chakra activity in the collective, which means we have like massive like weirdo reactions in us. Besides the symptoms of some of the cold stuff. Like sleepless nights, massive. Dreaming activities, really weird visions. So even trained energy workers and visionaries have reported, like including myself, really weirdo stuff, visions coming forward. For those of you who are aligned to fear, it will probably pull you into apocalyptic type of things. Guys, those are collective waves, all right? And when it comes to our beliefs, then understand that your beliefs align they literally align you to what you see. They were like a filter, okay? And so the 6th and 7th chakra activity right now can lead to, you just, sort of seeing this all reconfirmed, and oh my God, violence and terror and all this everywhere, or the complete opposite, not being able to really process that, not really able wanting to see this, and going into fantasy. So fantasizing, fanatism, I told you guys earlier, that is something that has to do with the 6th and 7th chakra. So 7th chakra, along with our 3rd, 5th and 1st chakra, this week, massive opening, which produces a massive opportunity for healing, because we will be able to see how all of that is connected. In relationships or socially, I've already mentioned this, if you get into this situation with someone where it feels like you're not getting any further, or they're not respecting you, make an active shift. Again, here, walk the talk. Make an active shift into, how can I see this perhaps from a softer perspective? How can I approach this in a way that I can express more respect? Because if I can express more respect, then the other can respect me better. And guess what? Just like with self-love, that's rooted in your self-respect. And where do we find self-respect? That is in being true to ourselves, being true to our values, and being true to our boundaries. So the self-expression here has a lot to do with making a stance, for who we are, but trying to find the balance here, and moving into a more graceful way of expressing that, so that we can actually be heard. All right. And energetically, those of you who know how to do this, it has to do with integrating feminine energies, but mostly it has to do with really allowing our lower chakras, the trauma energy, the fear energy that is stored in our lower chakras, your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd chakra, to resolve. And that means that this actually is something we are currently working on here at transCODES right now in the Grace Sacral Heart Fusion Marathon, is to really release these deeply ingrained cell memory of trauma and fear that can actually even come from past lives or other dimensional existences. And so right now, and this will continue the next week, you will have probably a kind of weird spatial and temporal perception. So this is a slightly off right now because we're crossing timelines. And the way you can navigate through this is, through doing karma work, through doing ancestral work, to use some of the etheric reconciliation techniques that I've published here on YouTube, or to really go and even if you just do this intuitively, into this kind of ceremony with yourself, where you just where you connect with the gratitude for yourself, for your own being, for your true self, for being there, for prompting you, yes, for challenging you, and also for all your ancestors, that are sort of their energy is contained in your energy signature, and it's usually there to prompt us into karmic resolutions. And so by you consciously or actively paying attention to this, you're activating all of that in you. This is sort of one of these really cool things about learning how to read and to work your own energies. You begin to discover how strong these self-healing powers actually are, and you start to become used to miracles in your life. Yeah, so summarizing, this next week can be very nice and very resolving, and for partnerships in particular. So if you can both heed that you need to be able to express things so that you can be heard, and also come in with a softer, with a more nurturing attitude towards the other, so that there's more mutual exchange, then you can resolve anything. And for others, it may be an intensely emotional week, where you will not only experience yourself releasing or venting a lot of erratic or highly dramatic things, also really you feel very bombarded by other people. And once more here, guys, if something happens in the collective, be careful with watching news or ingesting that collective energy through the filter of the news media, because that's another filter, it's another amplifier. So be careful with that. Know what your needs are. If you're still recovering from sickness, accept that you're sick and that it is okay. You will come out renewed, but give yourself the time to heal, to recuperate. Enjoy that if you can, really go there. And whether it's grieving, whether it's just basic getting over your fear, or working with actual physical pain, accept it. Yes, and it's wonderful you came here all. If you have any questions, now is the opportunity. For those of you who would like to learn more about March energies, I will do a recording here tonight where I specifically report about March energies. Will be very short, 12-15 minutes. It's not live. And for those of you who actively want to work with this, or want to find out how they can work with energies without, it being too woo-woo-ish, say, for them, then please contact me. I still offer free initial energy coaching sessions where we can work out a roadmap together, like what you need to work on. And of course, take advantage of all these energy sessions, these energy training sessions that we have here at transCODES, or the programs that we have developed for those of you who are really serious about walking the talk. This weekend, check the transCODES calendar. We have the free remote prayer healing session come up. This is a free healing service for anyone in need of physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, or energetic assistance. So go on the transCODES site, or check the calendar, the energy session calendar, to sign up for that. Thank you, everybody. I wish you guys a good start into March, and I hope to see you next week. Here in half an hour now, I will continue the live recording with the Crypto Spiritual Weekly, where I reflect how these collective energies now play into the financial, mostly cryptocurrency world here, which, as many of you know, is a sort of a symbol for me for the embodiment of these higher vibratory energies that are coming in here for our collective into our very 3D world. Yes. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there. This too will be reported, and those of you who are signed up for the transCODES email list will receive an email with both recordings. Actually, all 3 recordings this time, because it's the beginning of the month. Thank you, everybody. Smash that like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right, if you haven't done so yet, subscribe to the channel. You'll get the notifications when I'm live or when I've posted a new video. And there's a lot more to come. All right, see you next week, same time. Bye-bye.